schmeckt der Kaffee süße, lieblicher als 1000 Küsse, milder als Muskatenwein, milder als Muskatenwein. Kaffee, Kaffee, Kaffee muss ich haben. Und wenn jemand mich will haben, ach, so schenkt mir Kaffee, ach, so schenkt mir Kaffee ein. Kaffee, Kaffee, Kaffee muss ich haben. Und wenn jemand mich will haben, ach, so schenkt mir Kaffee ein. Kaffee, Kaffee, ach, so schenkt mir Kaffee. Ach, so schenkt mir Kaffee ein. Wie schmeckt der Kaffee süßer, lieblicher als 1000 Küsse, milder als Muskatenwein. Wie schmeckt der Kaffee?
Well, hello, ladies, gentlemen, and everyone in between. How the heck are you? I am Diana Clarion, the Lavender Lady, and this is Coffee with Lavender. And today we have, from the other side of the pond, over there, we have the bad-tempered badger. How the heck are ya?
Hello, I'm rather well. I'm just here drinking tea because that's what we do here.
Okay, that sounds pretty good. Everybody, could you, while we're at it, let me know how you're hearing everything? Are you able to hear? I'm trying out a new mic today, and of course, there are also those interesting problems I run into with what the heck is going on over here? Come on, this is not working. The other
I'm
interesting
just going to mute my microphone a second so I can listen to check it's working.
Thing. Yeah, okay, so I'm actually frozen, am I? Are you still there, Badger?
You do seem to be frozen, yeah. I can hear everything
that's
okay,
amazing.
but I can't see very much.
Yeah, nothing's happening over here, unfortunately. But, well,
It's all right. You have a good pose.
If
so
that's
you'll be
the
fine.
way it works, if you guys don't mind, I really don't want to go about taking things down and putting them back up and everything. Yeah, I definitely need more coffee. I really, really need more coffee. And I don't know, maybe I need some new background music because I've been reading the side chat, guys, and I know Kate doesn't very much like my music. Brian doesn't like it very much. Who else do we have over here that's telling me to please change the
Purple
music?
and Matt, we got Killian, we got Robert, we got everyone. No, nobody likes it.
So okay, maybe next week I'll have something new.
It's funny too that the first 5 minutes of a live stream are always, is it working? Can anyone hear? Is the sound? Is the video?
Oh, excuse me, please. I didn't mean to do that. I didn't mean to blow you guys out of everything. But I'll tell you, okay, well, we're picking this up and going with it. Mr. Badger, you are a badger. How is it that you became a badger? How was it that became your mascot?
Oh, well, I was sort of born that way, you know. but the sort of the badger imagery is well, I've always liked nature and animals, particularly fluffy ones, but also but also in general ones that are omnivorous in nature and nocturnal, because I'm kind of nocturnal myself. I'd much rather be up during the night when nobody wants anything from me.
Okay, fine. This works. Because it's not very often that I find people who identify with wildlife of that family, and I have to admit, the first thing that comes to my mind when I think of you is the line from the Holy Grail, and perhaps if we built a large wooden badger, after the
I think that'll
Trojan
work better
horse,
actually, because
or
then
the,
they
the
could
Trojan
tunnel.
rabbit fails.
I think if they used a badger, they'd be able to tunnel, so it would work better.
Okay,
They'd get
fine.
under the wall.
Yes.
But also, the thing with the thing with badgers that I like is we badgers are rather grumpy. They're fine as long as you keep your distance, but if you get too close and come in, we'll bite your legs off.
Okay, that one I like also because that reminds me also of the Holy Grail. Definitely.
Oh yes. Gillian Harding in the chat's asking me what tea am I drinking? PG Tips. So the ones with the triangular pyramid-shaped tea bags.
Now there's one that I don't know. Well, of course, I'm in America. I'm in the U.S., so we
I
don't.
believe they do import them, but
Yeah, we don't drink very much tea over here compared to you
no.
guys. And
I understand from several US residents that I speak to that there are special shops for British imports that are rather expensive that all the Brits go to because they don't want their bread to taste like cake and they need tea.
yes, yes, yes. I guess we happen to like things sweet over here, and that's no, I'm not very much for that either as far as the sweetness goes. Well, I call everybody sweetness, but that's as far
Yeah.
as it is.
I like the sweetness in the people, not so much in the food.
Yes, absolutely. And one of the things I've noticed about you as I've been following you, it's how long have we known each other? Maybe about a year.
We've been sort of chatting indirectly and for probably about long and directly for a bit
Yeah,
less time, but about that, yeah.
you seem to me to be more toward what Americans would call libertarian
I would
than
think so. I
most
think that
Europeans I
fits.
know. I mean, is this a common position in England, or are you like an
No,
outlier?
I'd say I'm an outlier. I don't know. I don't fit libertarian entirely because I am very supportive of, for example, the NHS. I think everyone kind of pooling resources for healthcare is a good idea.
Well, thank you very much for that sentiment. Definitely, I mean, considering what's been going on in my own life lately, yeah, thank you for that because I'm thinking the medical care
Yeah,
is
I
extremely
did see
important for everybody. Yeah,
I did see a tweet by you recently related to that that popped up in my timeline as I was scrolling through.
yeah, you guys
It
do
was
it right.
it was related to Mr. Trump, I believe.
Well, I don't know. Do you guys do it right? I mean, for as far as I know, the medical system, the NHS, sounds good. I understand it's not perfect. It's not ideal. Nothing ever is.
I don't think
But
anything's perfect, but I think in general, for minor things, it works pretty well. For minor things, let's say I had an ingrown toenail a while ago. Uh, it took a while to have it dealt with, but it wasn't a serious problem. So rather than clogging up the emergency room, I just dealt with it until I could go to the GP and have it sorted. And that was at no cost to myself. So that was, other than taxes that were
okay,
already paid. I didn't have to pay for the operation, the minor going in there thing. The issue with the NHS is more major things. There are massive waiting lists. So
Ooh,
you can be
okay.
there, waiting for transplants, for example, for absolutely ages. Um, which, if it's not immediately life threatening, is, understandable. But if it is immediately life threatening, that could present a problem, because then it's trying to fit people into a somewhat overworked and beleaguered system.
All right. And is this? Well, I realize I'm asking you to speculate, but I'll do it anyway. Is this more the system itself, or is this something else?
Well, it's partly how the system functions. I think, obviously I don't work in healthcare, so
Mhm.
I'm only looking at this from an outside perspective. But I think it's partly how the system functions, and partly recent governments have cut funding for the system considerably. So there are a lot of overworked, understaffed hospitals trying to fit everyone in, and not being able to.
Okay, okay, I got you. So, yeah, because I'm trying to think of how the NHS would work were it plopped on Anytown, USA. Well, of course, the other thing though is you'd have to change the minds of a lot of people over here in order to even get them to accept that. I understand.
Mm.
Um,
A few little things from the chat here. One is, isn't that also because of the donor shortage? Yes, I'd imagine it is, although I don't know very much about that personally, so I'd have to look into it. And the other thing that's come in the chat is, hey, the NHS saved my life, so I can't complain about it.
okay,
I
okay.
agree with you there. I can complain about it, and I will, but I still think it's actually pretty good in a lot of ways. One thing I will complain about is they lost my grandmother,
Oh no,
and she had Alzheimer's and couldn't remember where she was, and
they actually
on a
misplaced
very
her.
over
Oh no.
and understaffed day, she went into hospital for a minor operation, and about 12 hours later, I went into the hospital trying to work out where she was, and I found her sitting in a waiting room looking very confused. And I walked in and she went, "Oh, hello, what am I doing here?"
This almost sounds like the opening to a British comedy.
It's funny now, but it wasn't at the time.
I can imagine. I see that Mark Caesar said something. He says he asked me to have a look at a video to which he's linked. It sort of explains the difference in healthcare systems between the U.S. and Australia. Okay, I'm definitely going to have to
Mm,
take a
I think
look at that
I'll add that to my what later for later.
because one of the things that's happened in the last couple of days is my doctor has told me that the next time he attends a conference on single payer healthcare, he would like to invite me to come to the conference as well. And that
Hmm.
would be a wonderful thing. And I'd like to get as much information from as many sources as I can about the various health systems. So thank you, Mark. It's a wonderful
Well,
thing there.
I can definitely say some basic outside perspectives on the UK NHS.
Okay, now I'm gonna have to ask you. I've already asked Neil when I
Hmm.
had him on the show a few weeks ago. Um, you are not in the U.S. and you are somewhere in a place that is not U.S. other than U.S. looking
That is
at
true.
the U.S.
Can
and when
confirm.
and when you do that, what do you see? I mean, how do we impress you? How do we impress the folks around you? Um, and no holds barred here. Let us have it.
Mm. Well,
What kind of people do you find us to be?
well, uh, let's let's uh, let's start with the people. All the people that I've personally met have been very nice, and from a a British
British?
perspective,
Okay.
a British perspective, perhaps a little. uh, from a British perspective, perhaps a little too nice, because American people, U.S. American people tend to smile a lot more, I've found, than British people, in a way that can come off to a Brit as seeming fake.
Oh, okay.
I find that I'm uncomfortable with people who are too friendly, because I'm the people who are too friendly in England are the charitable muggers who want something from you in the street.
All
They're
right
very
then.
smiley.
Okay.
They come up to you and they're saying, "Hello, have you heard about the terrible situation in Uganda or whatever?" And
Actually, I kind of know the feeling, because here, a lot of the panhandlers will do something like that. It's, "Hi, how are you? I haven't seen you in ages, and how's your mother?" And you've never seen this person before, okay? And, you immediately know that a pinch is coming. They're going to be asking for something.
Yeah.
So
You're just there, kind of waving your hand, going, "Get to the point." Yeah, no, I have when I'm dealing with the chuggers, as they're referred to, the charitable muggers. My immediate reaction is, "What do you want?" "No, I'm not going to do it now. I will go away and look into it."
Okay. Wait a minute. Damn, GTG laters. Oh, you're gonna have to take.
Brian's got to make
Gonna
his
have to
escape.
take off, Brian. Sorry about that. Well, be good, have fun, and I know they're mutually exclusive, but do the best you can. Oh, okay, Kate, you've never been panhandled like that. Okay.
Yeah, no, I was about to say, well, you are kind of scary, so in a good way.
Yes, in a very, very good way. Very good way. I don't know if it's endemic to this region of the country or not. This being, the doorstep of the Midwest. So that may be part of
Robert
it.
X says, "Stupid badger," in brackets, "don't want to sound friendly."
You'll teach them
Too friendly,
sooner
sorry.
or later, Badger. You'll let them. You'll get them used to it. Scary you. Yeah. Give me Shatner's head on a stick. Yeah, that's not scary.
I'd say you have an air of confidence and sort of forthrightness about you, Bionic Dance, that kind of it implies that you know what you want, and you're going to get it.
Do I sound a bit quiet? Okay. Why don't I have a look at the volume here and see how things are going? As I
It's
say,
coming through to
this
me,
is-
okay, but I'm not sure how it's
okay.
going through on the thing.
Yeah, this is a new setup. So, okay, does this help at all, Jillian? See if that helps. I'll get this figured out sooner or later. As I just yesterday bought a Yeti, and this is the first time I'm using it on air, and we're seeing how it works. And
yeah, this is my amazing built-in laptop microphone. So.
All right, hey, you're
It's actually
really
not
up
bad.
there.
I got
Okay.
this. This is a second-hand laptop as well, and it's actually not a bad microphone.
Okay, I gotcha. I mean, I don't know.
Surprised by how this one sounds.
Okay, good enough. I mean, we were talking earlier, when I first asked you on, and asking the kinds of things you might want to speak about, that sort of thing. One of the things you said was being British. And
I did mention that,
I'd like
yes.
to know what that means. I really would, because I know that every demographic has its what's the word I'm looking for? Things about them, the way they carry themselves, etc., etc., etc. I mean, is this what you were after?
Well, if that's what you want to ask about it, then that's where we shall go.
I mean, if you want to take it elsewhere, we can do that too. I mean, heck,
well,
we've still got another 45 minutes. Come on.
I just like overdoing the voice sometimes. Tea and scones, what and all that. But if you ask me what it is to be British, the obvious answer is being born and raised in Britain. So that's the basic. But the sort of the attitude of the nation is generally one of cynicism, I'd say. Sarcasm and cynicism.
Okay. Any idea where that comes from? I mean, is there a historical basis or something? Or
I'm not sure. Oh, and a mild dislike of the French.
oh, just a mild, yes, ever so mild. I like the way Robert X says, "Yeah, Brexit." yes, I think you have a few ideas about that as well, do you not?
Oh, I do, but that's
do
a
you want to
contentious
even
issue,
get into that?
As always, that seems to be a somewhat contentious issue. As soon as someone says it, everyone's like, "Oh no."
Well, I'm not a Tory. I'm not Labour, so I'm not going to. I'm not going to do anything either way. I'm just
I don't fit
sitting
either
here
of those
listening.
either. I don't think any of the people in the parties know which party they're in anymore.
Okay, that's an interesting thing.
I mean, they do by title, but they don't by what they're actually doing.
Is that something that's been happening there? Because I've been looking here, and I've been seeing people that are saying, for example, very recently, within the last day or so, a Republican advisor had mentioned that the soul of the GOP is gone, that the GOP here in the U.S. is dead. Is that the sort of thing that's happening in your neighborhood as well, or?
Sort of. Let me come at it from this angle. There are people who refer to themselves as conservatives who would historically support what would be called the Tories. However, they claim that the Tories are a liberal party and they won't support them. And then there's all the people on the left, or what would be referred to as the left, sort of saying, "Well, no, we don't want them either." So I don't know who keeps voting them in, but.
Oh my, yeah.
Because I don't want any of them really. I don't really like any of the major parties.
Oh wow! Here's something interesting from Fluffaluppagus. Your question, his question is, or her, I'm not sure which. Are your opinions on Brexit based on facts or feelings? Sargon's objections are feeling based, not fact based.
I'd say a little bit of both. I have certain facts that I generally refer to and that I've tried to research as best I can. I am not an economist. I'm not an expert on geopolitical affairs or anything of that nature, so I can't say that I'm entirely objective on it because I just don't have the information to be. I try to base my opinions on things as rationally as I can, but I don't think it's possible to escape some feelings-based opinions and actions.
Okay, yeah, definitely.
So I'd say I try to keep it more facts than feelings, but I think in terms of the Brexit issue, it's so confusing that if I said I was objective on it, I'd be lying.
Got you. And yeah, one of these days I'm going to have to do something about the keyboard sound. I know a couple people mentioned it's very loud, but what can I tell you?
I don't know what you mean. That's why I'm on a different computer for looking stuff up than the one I'm talking on.
That's one of the things I'm going to have to do. I'm still getting this place set up.
You can still hear it, I think. Let me test it. Hello.
Yeah, a little bit over there, a little bit. Hello. That's the one thing I have noticed. You don't seem to do very many live streams. Do I have that correct?
I haven't historically, no. I've started doing a few more recently because I'm doing. I'm trying to sort myself out. Basically, I'm trying to sort my life out because I've been a bit of a mess for a while. So I'm trying to get on top of things, which means that I have a bit less time and energy for doing the super edited videos. So I'm trying to transition a little bit more to doing conversational style things because I want to still be involved in interesting conversations and discussions, but I don't always have the time and energy to do lots of pre-preparation.
Yes, and you can slap me if you want. I had forgotten to put your channel in the description. Yeah,
Oh
that is a
no!
horrible thing of me
Well, let me
here.
put it in
Yeah,
the
why don't you
let me
put
put
it
it in the
in
chat.
the chat, and then I'll pick it up and throw it into the description. Um, I don't often get the notifications of the things you do, but then again, that could be
Let
YouTube
me just
as well as other
let me just
things.
check I'm doing this right. Is that my channel? Hey, it is my channel. Oh, good. Where's the chat gone? There it is.
Oh, I like Mark Caesar here. Don't hate us because we beat you at cricket. We'll let you win the rugby.
Let us win the rugby.
Oh, boy, moi. Okay, I'll copy the
Does
link.
anyone in the chat actually understand the rules of cricket? Because I don't. I don't
That
think the players do, to be fair.
that is an amazing thing to hear. Yeah, Brit say, I don't get this heads or tails because I had said at one point that I'd love to learn the rules of cricket if anyone knows them, because it seems to be just basically chaos, which isn't a bad thing
It's
necessarily.
it's it's slow, relaxed chaos from when I've watched it.
Okay.
Apart from when it becomes fast-paced chaos, but that's comparatively out of the time. It's a small percentage, I think.
Because I don't know offhand if our baseball came from your cricket or if they were parallel evolution or what the heck they are.
Well, we have a question from Kate, which is let's ask the truly important question: what the expletive is up with all those extra U's in your words?
Yeah, come to think of it, what is up with that?
Well, let me tell you. Let me tell you. So, we're just fancy bastards and we like to be unnecessarily complicated.
Because there were things that I was hearing, and I don't know if they were correct or not. They were not coming from linguists or anything, but for example, the extra, as we see it here in the U.S., the extra U in color. As the noun, it would be there, but as the verb, it would not be there. Is that it? The
I'm
color
not
is
entirely
blue. That
sure
would
about
be
that
O
one.
U R. And pardon me.
You're asking a dyslexic about words here.
Okay.
Now, not that I can't read. I can read fine. I'm just a little slower than average. But when it comes to writing them down and spelling them correctly, I struggle a little bit.
Hey, you know what? I think Alias Fake Name may have the best explanation I've ever heard. Printing was priced by the letter in America. We dropped the U's to save money.
That might be right. Also, I think there might be an issue of right. We've left England, so we need to be different. We gotta cut ties in every way possible. We're tipping the tea in the harbour, and we're getting rid of all the U's.
Oh, wait a minute. Jillian Harding says, I know the answer to this one. Alrighty, that would be a very interesting thing to hear or read or
Ooh.
whatever you want to call it. And Robert X notes that there are no U's in Bad Tempered Badger. Yeah, I
No, I don't
kind of
believe there
noticed
are.
that. Oh no!
Bald Tomperod Bonjour.
Okay, now you've done it. Yes. Uh, and yes, Mark, I agree. It is stupid that we in the U.S. still use the imperial measurements, and I say that even though I think in them.
Well,
Uh,
let's just say we'd like to avoid any imperial entanglements.
Wait a minute, Jill. You mean it's right? About the money? Oh my word! Here, I thought it was just being humorous. This is terrific. We've learned something today. Hey, at least my day isn't
Outstanding.
lost. Oh man, but that's really amazing.
With the measurements, I don't really think in metric or imperial measurements because I don't really think in measurements. I think that's about I'm waving my arms here. It's about that.
Okay, because well, I'm of two minds, and a lot of
So if
people.
I'm measuring something, the measurement I use, if I'm not really thinking about it, the measurement I use depends on because rulers here have both generally. So
As they do here, yeah.
so if I'm not thinking about it, I might very well just use whatever way I happen to pick up the ruler.
Okay, because in the lab, well, not that I'm in the lab now, but back when I was in the
Mm.
lab, um, the SI units were right in the forefront of my mind. 20 milliliters of this, 500 grams of this, everything is great. But here, sitting at home or out on the street or something, I'm thinking in feet, miles, pounds, gallons.
Hmm.
Um, as a matter of fact, I'm one of the strange people, and I know a lot of people out there are going to
Mm.
agree with that when I say that. I also tend to think of velocities in feet per second rather than miles per hour.
Mm.
But
Well, Partholophicus there says we know BTB isn't an engineer, that's for sure.
oh
Well,
my
you'd be
word!
right. You'd be right about that. Although I do some carpentry, and it really throws me off that most carpentry measurements are done in millimeters, and if I do try to measure things, I tend to think in centimeters. And I know that millimeters are just 10 in a centimeter, but when someone says, "Oh, that's 100 mil," I stand there for a second and I go, so 10 centimeters, right?
Okay, okay. Somebody says 100 mil, and I'm thinking, okay, that's a little bit larger than one of the old case fans. Those
Outstanding.
back when you were running 486s and stuff, the case fans were 80 millimeters. So, it's like, okay, fine, we can do that.
Just finished making a box actually for some friends of mine as a wedding present.
Oh, look! Kate has been known to do some psychopentry.
Mm. What?
There are reasons, Kate. There are.
So what else? What else do we need to?
Yeah, what can we go on? And I like a lot of the things about the differences and the similarities.
Hmm.
I know a lot of people like to look at differences between demographics. I mean, what do you see that's similar from the British way of looking at things and the American way of looking at things? And is that good or bad?
Similar. Well, there's a language.
Well, I don't know. Some people might argue about that.
Yeah, I was going to say we do like to say we're separated by a common language. Uh,
Now, was that Winston Churchill, or is that just falsely attributed?
I don't know. I know a lot of quotes. I don't know who said them.
Okay.
But yeah, there's the language thing. There's also certain cultural elements tend to cross over quite readily. There's certain aspects of attitudes tend to cross over. Like, well, there's a bit of the old imperialism that we've seemed to have passed down.
Yeah,
Although that's
unfortunately.
less.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Hey, you really shouldn't apologize that much because we could have
Well,
rejected it. We
it
could have
wasn't me,
said
it wasn't
screw
me that
you.
did it, so I don't know what I'm apologising for exactly. But it was some of my historic countrymen. So
Oh, please forgive me for
one
coughing
of
all
the
over the place. So there's just not
similarities.
right into my boom mic. Oh, talk
Don't,
fearsome. Okay, you're gonna have to explain this one, Doc, because I'm a little slow this morning. He asks,
Mhm.
is carpentry the construction of fish?
Oh, I think that might be a bit of a religious reference there. Possibly the whole Jesus
Oh,
carpenter
that
thing,
whole
and he made the
Jesus thing.
fishes.
Okay, I got
Ah,
you.
Jesus, But I'm not sure about
Okay, gonna have to work on that one.
that.
Yeah.
Place it. Oh,
Um,
oh, oh. Place it on your shoulders to answer for the extra I you Brits put in aluminium.
well, you know what, Puffalopagus? This is the interesting thing. From the IUPAC, from the International Union of Applied and oh God, what is it? I was going to say theoretical and applied chemistry, but that doesn't fit the acronym. But from the Chemical Institute, believe it or not, aluminium is actually official. But
See, we know what we're talking about over here.
yeah, because what happened there is, for the most part, the names of the elements are supposed to end in that IUM. Like for example, barium, aluminium, that sort of
Mm.
thing, and the halogens all end in INE, like fluorine, chlorine, iodine. And the next person to say iodine gets slapped. Uh, and there are a couple other things like that, but yeah, for the most
Speaking of
part, it's
iodine,
that.
I had that tipped all over my foot a while ago.
Oh no! Hopefully the damage wasn't too severe.
No, it's fine.
Oh, carp and tree. Okay, okay, okay.
Ah,
Oh
yeah,
man.
there it is. Carp. Well, in that case, the carp is vastly misplaced itself as a tree is not its natural habitat.
Carp
Carp
in
in
tree.
tree.
There we go. Okay. Sorry about that. I had to give up caffeine a long time ago, so my brain just doesn't work the way it used to. And aren't you guys so glad?
Ah, dear. Well, let me just think about one of one of the differences that I've noticed between the Americans and the Brits, other than the whole sugar thing, is certain attitudes towards certain things are vastly different. Now that I've started that sentence, the example has gone.
Uh-oh.
Let's see. Have you got an example for that? Because mine's just vanished out of my head.
Try another cup of tea. Jumpstart. Come on. I have to ask:
Oh yeah, yeah.
are the Brits as puritanical as the Americans are?
Religiously or culturally or
Culturally,
culturally.
especially socio-sexually, that sort of thing. I mean, are you,
I
are your countrymen anywhere near as repressed as we are?
I don't know, to be honest, because I haven't been to America, so I couldn't really confirm that. But from what I've seen, there are areas that were worse and areas that were better. Religiously, I'd say no. Even though the head of the state is also the head of the church, and there is no specific separation of church and state, the attitude towards religion here is much more dismissive. We tend to be just, oh, that old thing, whatever. It's good for having a party at Christmas time. And that's about it.
Well, I don't
Although,
know.
there are aspects of it where people are a bit more
Is that
religiously
is that
minded.
partly because you guys are more civilized than we are?
Oh, it could be.
And no, I'm
No,
not kidding here. I am
we do
really
tend to
not
be a
kidding
little
around.
dismissive of a lot of that kind of thing. We keep the traditions, but we also laugh at them. Um, but with things like, well, let's look at the social aspects of things. I'd say things like homosexuality and other related but separate things are generally reasonably well accepted in most areas of society, even in rural areas, although in some cases less so. Although, saying that, having been more recently interacting with a lot of people who would be going into the building trades, I'd say that's not quite so much. That I know that's a stereotype, but actually, in my experience with the people I've been interacting with, it's kind of accurate.
Oh my. Okay, so some things just don't change.
Mm. And they're not exactly they're not exactly what's the word I'm looking for? They're not violent about it, and they're not generally rude about it. They're just talking to friends. They would not accept that someone is what they say they are.
Okay. That's interesting because reminds me of, I won't call it a conversation, I'll call it an exchange I had yesterday with someone who would not accept that I am what I say I am. So, yeah, I know, the problem is over there as well. Who knows?
Oh, it's here. I'd say it's everywhere, but there's levels of it. I mean, because I'm probably not the most what would be called progressive person in the world, but my view on it is I accept people for what they say they are, even if I don't necessarily agree. I will try to accept people for what they said they are and be nice. Even if it's something I don't agree with them on, there's no reason to be rude. There's no reason to be a dickhead about it.
Okay, I've got that. This is interesting.
I mean,
Puffaluffagus asks.
sorry, go on.
No, Puffaluffagus asks something interesting that I had forgotten about for the longest time. Are you guys still expected to put the plug on your appliances yourselves?
No, but it is among the sort of older or more practical, the older generations or more practical people, people in more physical based kind of things. It is expected to know how to do it and to
Okay.
know how to be able to cut a plug off something and put a new one on.
Yeah, I don't know how many people here in the U.S. would know how to do. Well, the younger people.
Yeah, I could do it, but I'd need to take a picture first to know where all the wires went.
Okay, okay.
I wouldn't be able to, from memory, go right. That color wire goes to that bit, and that one goes to that bit. And the fuse goes that way around. I know in theory roughly how it goes, and from an understanding of how electronics work, I know roughly how it's supposed to work, but I can't remember which way around it goes.
I do like the way you guys do something in your appliance plugs or power plugs, whatever you want to call it. I've noticed that the arrangement is such that as you're plugging in, there is never a live blade exposed. Do I have this correct? That is
That's
there's
the
an
idea.
insulating thing, and as you're pushing it in, it's retracted. And
Yeah, there's 3 pins.
yeah,
And the top pin, as I understand it, the top pin doesn't actually connect to anything, but it's longer than the others. So the top pin goes in partly to hold the thing in place and partly to open the connections to the other ones.
yeah, I definitely like that. It's been a long time for me learning. There is something that people do here in the U.S. that I should have known just to look
Mm-hmm.
at it. But we have 3-prong plugs here as well.
Yeah.
The 2 blades are for power, and then the cylindrical one is a ground, or as you would say, an earth, and that's like to earth the case just in case a live wire touches it. You can just go to earth instead of zapping you.
Yeah.
Now the way they were manufactured, the blades go at the top and the cylinder goes at the bottom. I have noticed so many people turning them around the other way, such that the
Okay.
cylinder is atop and the blades are at the bottom. And I was actually told that is in case something falls across the blades, it won't cause a dead short.
Yeah, shorts the whole thing out. Yeah. No, that makes sense actually, having something in the way so you can't drop something on it. But
And because I've done electrical work, and
blades on, well, the pins, blades, whatever on the UK ones, the big long one is at the top, and that doesn't connect to anything. And the two shorter ones are underneath, but the whole thing is enclosed, so none of them are exposed when it's plugged in, or they're not supposed to be. If your plug's gone wrong, they might be. It is still possible to stick your finger in a power socket, though, as someone in my primary school discovered.
oops, stick a finger in the power socket.
I don't know how they did it,
They must
but
have
they
some
managed it.
small fingers. Because here, anyway, the blades are.
Alias Fake Name says, "How do your kids learn anything about electricity without sticking a knife in the outlet?"
No, I remember how-to books, sort of on the line of, say, electrical work for dummies. Back when I was younger, still going on about never, never, ever replace a blown fuse with a penny. Because I guess there were still some people who, okay, they blew a fuse and they didn't have any around the house, so they'd stick a penny in the fuse box. And it's like, why are you doing this? Because
I wouldn't recommend it.
Right, you're connected directly to mains. And
I mean, technically it'll work, but the point of a fuse is that it blows if there's too much current.
Yes. Oh man, it's hi Ostentation, how you doing? You're not late on this,
We do
yes,
still
you're not.
have fuses in our houses. We have a fuse box down normally in the cupboard under the stairs, if there's stairs in the house, or a little outside cabinet or something like that. And if there's too much power running through it or something shorts, then all the lights will go out and you have to go down to the fuse box and flick all the switches back on.
All of them?
Well, it depends.
Oh wow. Well, when I was
Depending on how severe things is, it might short the whole thing, or it might just short the specific area, because things are on different circuits.
Okay, I remember the one day I was replacing a wall socket, and the little items that held the outlet box onto the wall were metal things that they grabbed onto the back of the wall and then bent around the box.
Oh, yeah.
And you held it in that way. And I hadn't bent it well enough, and it touched the screws to the leads that were connected to the circuit. And as soon as I turned the thing on, it was a dead short to earth. And instead of blowing that circuit, it blew the main. It was fireworks for about a minute.
Oh dear. I do remember shorting out the entire house at one point, but I can't remember the circumstances. And I'm not sure what happened there. If I'm talking about out of my ass about any of this stuff that I'm not really sure about, someone in the chat, please correct me, because I'm not an electrician.
Oh no, Beach. So you'd moved into an apartment, someone had used a penny, and it was sparking. How the hell long was it sparking is what I want to know. Seriously.
Don't use pennies. Don't do that. It's bad.
Especially in an apartment, because, okay, the way I've been exposed to things, if you're living in a house, there's an arrangement where each of the independent circuits are controlled by a switch, by a breaker. And then there is a main breaker for the entire house. So you could, if you're going to add a circuit, you could turn the main one off and then do that sort of thing. The apartments I've lived in don't have that arrangement. They don't have that main. They just have the individual circuits. So if somebody stuck a penny in there, you're not going to get that baby out all that easily, because you're going to go live if you try to take that out.
Yeah, and you can't really use pliers or anything. I suppose you could use like plastic tweezers or something, but if there's too much power going through, those will melt, won't they?
Just a little bit.
Or
That's
wooden tweezers, maybe. Maybe like a wooden barbecue tongs.
Oh no. Jillian ran over the
Oh,
lawnmower cable and cut it
oh,
and
whoops.
all the power to the house. He had to flip. Yeah,
There's
okay.
one here I've said, which is Robert X says most of his lights are voice/smartphone controlled, which is nice when you lose your phone. I've never understood why you would want smartphone controlled appliances. You know,
I don't
I
get it
don't know
either.
why. I don't know why I'd want to be able to turn my lights on from a phone when I can just turn my lights on from the wall.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's so bad here in my house in my abode. I did not own a smartphone until last Thursday.
Hmm.
Um, I got one of those Obama phones, one of those government phones, and it happened to be an Android. Um, and I still don't know how to use the damn thing.
I do have a smartphone. In fact, I have two, uh, which both of them I got free from a friend of mine who works in a phone shop. Um,
Okay.
because I'm not paying for that kind of bullshit. I want to have. I want my phone to make calls.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice having a smartphone that'll go on the net and do tablety things, but I don't put a SIM card in it. I use it just as a camera and a tablet.
Okay. Now the one thing I wouldn't mind, and the Obama phone people did not send a instruction book that's any good,
Like that, the
so I
Obama
don't know
phone.
how to do this.
Ring, 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 ring. Obama phone.
Yeah, there you go. But it is an Android, so I do have the capability to connect to the interwebs. I would
Oh yeah,
like to be able to, just so if I'm standing at the bus stop and
yeah.
I'm wondering when the next bus is going to come by, I can turn
Oh
on the
yeah.
smartphone and say, okay, Siri, tell me
The
when the
bus.
next bus is coming or whatever that is. That's as far as I want to go with a smartphone. Really, I mean, I am just so married to my desktops. I have two of them, um,
Oh yeah.
and
I have an old Nokia phone. It's like just before smartphones were becoming a thing. This was a thing. It opens and has a proper QWERTY keyboard inside,
ooh, all
and
right.
I use it as a phone, and I use it as a diary, and I use it as a writing aid. So if I'm out somewhere, if I want to write, I sometimes write short stories and things like that, and also if I'm doing a pre-prepared video, I sometimes write a script.
Yeah, yes, I know
If
Siri
I'm
is
doing
an
that,
Android gate. I just don't know what's what, so I threw the two of them together. I'm
if
some.
I'm doing that,
I'm clueless. So you already know I'm
you
clueless.
got
How
your
long have you known
Siri
me?
Android. Oh dear. If I'm writing the stuff, I tend to go out in the woods with my little old Nokia phone, and I'll type my thing up on the phone where I'm away from being distracted by the things I do when I'm at home.
Okay, definitely. I, I'm getting dragged kicking and screaming very slowly into the 20th century as far as
Mm.
that goes. It's but, and yes, Doc, I like that. Yours is a smart ass phone. I'd like one of those. I would like one where you would turn it on and you want to know something like when the next bus is coming or whatever it is, and
Mm.
okay, you would say, okay, smartphone, tell me when the next bus is coming, and it says, well, no, fuck you, I don't want to do that. Just to being a smart ass phone.
You don't want a smart ass phone, you just want a smart phone.
Look it up yourself, jackass.
Ah, excellent.
It's taking us so long. I don't. Do you have anything like this? When I was in Chicago a couple of years ago, it was so
Yeah.
nice that they actually had bus schedules posted right at the stops, where you could look at the little traveling sign and know when the next, say, three or four buses were coming. Here in Pittsburgh, they haven't got to that point yet, but a few of these stops have
They're
general
supposed
schedules
to.
going. You guys have anything
Yeah.
like that? Or do you guys
supposed
have
to
much
have
of a public
timetables.
transportation system?
Yeah, they're supposed to have timetables on all the stops. Most of them do. Occasionally, they'll go missing. And on the city centre, on the main bus routes, in sort of the main bus stops on the city centre where the route starts, some of them will have a scrolly electrical thing that will tell you the next several buses.
Okay, yeah, sort of like the Chicago thing. I loved that.
Yeah.
I really did. And I'm thinking, why can't Pittsburgh do that? Oh, I know why. They're Pittsburgh. Uh,
If you want to see a
basically,
weird
it's
transportation system, go to London. I do not like it. I like some aspects of it, but overall, I don't like it.
that's interesting. What is there that you're not liking?
I don't like that they don't accept cash.
Oh, so
Because
what do
if I
you?
hadn't known that in advance, because friends told me, I'd have gone to London, tried to get on a bus, not have an Oyster card or a contactless payment card, which I don't have, and then I'd have got on the bus and said I'd like to go to wherever, and they'd go, no, we don't take cash, and I'd go, and I'd make a huge stink and swear at them a lot.
Oh, boy, moi. Now I do kind of like the what did you call yours? An Oyster card?
Yes.
Here in Pittsburgh, it's called a Connect card. I think it's
Oh yeah.
probably the same
It's the
sort of
same
thing
principle, I think. It's
that
just got a little RFID chip in that you put on the thing, and it reads how much is on the thing.
yeah, you put cash value on it, and it
Yeah.
isn't to the point yet where it will read the card in your pocket as you board the bus, but it's close. You don't actually have to put the card into a slot or anything. You can just sort of wave it by the sensor, and it
Yeah.
picks it up.
The ones in London, you put it on top of it, and it goes beep and lets you through.
But they will also take cash. So those who are not Pittsburgh natives, who happen to be here, why anyone would want to come to Pittsburgh, I have no idea. After living here for 30 years, I can say, why would you want to do that? But still,
I had the same reaction when I went to London. I was in London for. Occasionally, I will visit. I have friends in London. I'm not a London native. I am a out on the moors kind of chap. I'm a naturey badger kind of guy. But the times when I visit London, after being there for a few days, my eyes will be stinging, my throat and my nose will be clogged, and I'll just be there like, I need to go.
what is it? The air pollution is that bad?
And it's the air pollution, especially on the underground.
Okay. So if ever I get the chance to go to London before I die, I don't necessarily want to do the underground, huh?
If you're on there briefly, it may not be too bad, but when I've been there for several days and going on and off the underground for several hours in a day,
Okay. Now, if you ever get a chance to come out here, well, if you ever get a chance to come out here, number one, you've got to stop over here, and I can make my my world famous chicken paprikash, and you can dig right into that. I take it you know about that stuff.
I've heard of such things. Yes, I wouldn't mind sampling something of that nature.
But if you travel the country, I loved Chicago's public transit system. The best I'd ever known, and I've been in spent time in several major cities. Population in the millions. Chicago's underground. Well, Chicago has a combination of underground and above ground. They have the L, where you're 30 feet in the air on these cars, as
Oh,
well
nice.
as then going down. When you're downtown Chicago, you're going underground as well. That system is beautiful. I fell in love with it. Well, when I went to Chicago, I hadn't been there in 35 years, and when I remembered just how much I missed it. And this is from somebody who hates large cities.
Yeah.
London would probably drive me crazy if, for the one reason would be the population is so densely packed.
Yeah, I'm not a
You've
fan
got what, 10 million
I'm
people in
not
a
a fan of
square
that.
mile or something like that?
I'm not a fan of densely packed populations either, and for that reason, I'm not a fan of London.
Mm-hmm. And then, well, as far as the buses go, the diesel buses, you did not have to
Oh,
wait. Say again?
one other thing about London. Well, pure ostension in the chat says, "Blow your nose after going on the tube. It's black." Yes, that happened.
Okay.
A friend of mine's, one of his relatives, has like a breathing aid for. She lives in London, and she has to like put a whole breathing mask on to sleep because her lungs have. She has a lung condition from being in London, which
Oh,
goes away
man.
as soon as she goes back to where she's originally from. But the other thing I was going to mention about
Amazing, isn't
London
it?
is, you know how there's this sort of stereotype around the world about Brits being generally a bit more polite and a little bit more formal.
Yeah.
That does
Not.
not apply in London.
Oops.
Uh, are you trying to monetize the videos at all?
Oh no, it's going to be a
No,
long time before I'm anywhere near
no.
monetization.
Well, let me put it this way. Uh, as we were walking in London, there was a cyclist riding along the side of the road, and there was a red light, which generally means both cyclists and cars should stop if they're in the road, not on a cycle path or something. The light went red, and someone was trying to cross the road and almost got run over by this cyclist. So then this woman who'd almost got run over sort of looked up and called to the cyclist, going, there's a red light. And the cyclist glanced around at her and just went, shut your fucking mouth, and cycled off.
Oh no, that's brilliant. Oh jeez.
Oh, this is London.
Well, not a cyclist, but yeah, a few of you guys in the side chat are probably going to be rather disappointed. I came very close to being run down yesterday. Somebody in an SUV
Mm-hmm.
laid on the gas through a left turn, actually accelerating to the left turn to try to get me. Why this guy was doing this, I have no freaking idea. I glared at him and then kept going because I had checked all 9 ways before I went across the street. But
Yep.
yes, Pittsburgh drivers are some of the worst I've ever encountered. But no, the Chicago diesel buses, you didn't have to wait 5 minutes for another bus. If you wanted, no waiting of any length at all. Where here, well, I'm in part of the boonies of the boonies. You know, I'm here in the boondocks of the boondocks. So we have 2 buses that go in and out of my neighborhood, and each of them runs an hour apart. And that makes getting around a little difficult when you don't own a motor vehicle. But I'm assuming, I'm hoping that if in London you did not own a motor vehicle, you'd still be pretty good.
You'd be good for getting to places, as long as you can, pay for the public transport system. But London is big, so if you need to walk across it, it's going to take a while.
Okay. I mean, as long as you can manage a bicycle, because that's my
Also-
normal means of transportation. And
Also, a little bit like certain cities I've heard about in America and more in the north of England, if you go down the wrong street in London, it is possible to be stabbed.
Okay, yeah. I have lived in several cities like that. So, yeah, here in America, yeah, definitely.
I was staying with a friend of mine. We were visiting friends in London when we were staying in one of his relatives' place. And we walked down one street and we said, now we'll take this route because it's dark now. And if we take that route, that's Stabby Alley. So we won't go down there.
All right. Yeah, it's well, the people the rest of the world called my father owned a business in one of those areas. And I became well acquainted with the muzzle end of a .38 revolver. Yes, as did my sister. because she had one pointed at her head while the guy at the other end of it was saying, "Give me the money," and it's like, "You've got all the money. We don't have any more." One of these deals. That was fun. Happily, that was a long time ago. Oh my, oh my. Yeah, I'm noticing it's around the top of the hour. I'll tell you what, you guys on the side, you over here, Bad Tempered, if you guys are up for an after show, so am I. That's no problem at all.
I've been for a little while. I will need to get some more tea, though.
Okay, so I'll tell you what, let's keep talking. And the one thing I had not done this week was I had not preset an after show. So I'm going to set it up while we're talking here. Because I like to keep these coffees with Lavender.
Yeah. Keep it to an hour so people actually watch it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I've been trying to do the same thing when I've done live streams, although they tend to overrun.
Oh, they always do, but you do as well to keep them halfway reasonable anyway.
Yeah.
And
I don't know, because you do it with OBS, don't you? So you
yes,
can
I
just
do.
transition with the same Hangout rather than having to make a new one. Whereas I've been doing it through the Hangout system, so I have to start all over again.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if I'm going to do... how about some input here? Shall I just pick it up and drop it on a new one, or shall I just turn OBS off and do the quick hangout? That way we would have motion on the camera.
Motion on the camera is nice.
I'll tell you what, let's do a quick hangout this time.
All right, you must do what you feel is right, of course.
Yeah, and then I'll just put the thumbnail on later, because, and then I'm going to, later on, I think I'm going to run a live stream or two this week, and then try to figure out why this thing is freezing.
I'll try and catch them if I can.
Let's see.
Oh, one thing that Pure Ostension says was that it needed a walking stick all the time in London. I actually did the same thing the last time I went to London, specifically because I knew I was going to be staying near Stabby Alley. So I had my one of my I mentioned I do a bit of carpentry. One of my hobbies is making walking sticks. So I've made this walking stick, which is specifically it's nice and sturdy. It's got a nice big chunky golf ball as the handle. And it's coated in resin to make it nice and solid, and has a nice leather grip at nice hand distance. It's essentially weighted like a training sword. So if I'm set upon by ruffians, I have my insurance policy.
Okay, fine. Yes. As a matter of fact, I've taken to walking with a quarterstaff. Well, actually,
nice.
It's closer to a half staff. It's actually hewn from what is the traditional wood used for that? It's not yew.
Some of them are oak, I think.
But it is from the traditional wood. My ex was cutting down one of those trees, and I said, "Hey, can I have a couple of these?" And this neighborhood, it's not as necessary as it is in some of the others I've lived in.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's always nice to have that quarterstaff just in case you need it. Because the area I lived in before I moved here, there was a lot of drug traffic and a lot of drug traffickers with whom you could get into some trouble if you didn't watch it. When I moved into that neighborhood, in the first week, there were 3 fatal shootings within a mile of me.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, welcome home, Diana.
There's not so many shootings around here, although there are occasionally some, but there's considerable stabbings. And something that Bionic Dance has picked up on is, yes, I do work Star Wars quotes into my everyday vocabulary as often as I can.
All right, then. Perfect. And I'm going to put into the side over here, this is a link to the quick after show, which we can pick up. And then, once we close this down, everybody can migrate over there, and we can continue the wonderful talking. Because I love the talking as far as that goes. Sometimes it takes a little while for me to spin up, but once you do, I love these things. Well, I guess that's why I do this. I'm loving having you on the show.
Yeah, that's kind of why I got into doing these as well, is that I like having interesting conversations and discussions and even arguments if they're, friendly.
Yeah, there you go. Friendly arguments, no problem with that.
I don't mind disagreeing with someone. In fact, I've had quite a few interesting disagreements with people since I've been doing these sorts of things. And as long as they've been, amicable, and we can have a good chat and still be nice to each other afterwards.
There you are.
Has not been the case with one recently, but all the other ones has been almost always just, oh, well, I don't agree with you there. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's got to be one in every crowd, I know, and sometimes there are 3 or 4. But I guess you just deal with it as far as that goes. The trolls can even be fun.
Started off badly and it got worse. I shouldn't have kept going with it, to be honest. I should have muted it. It was a Twitter one. I should have muted it and just left it. But as other people have said, once I'm in a discussion, I find it difficult to leave sometimes, even if someone is wrong on the internet.
Oh yeah, no, you can't have someone wrong on the internet. No, that will not work. I'm getting a little better at it because especially some of the hardline religious trolls, if you'll excuse the expression, there's just no talking to them, and
some of them.
But why don't you give everybody an idea, Badger, of what you're going to be doing in the near future, what to look for and where to look for it.
Let's have a little thing. I'm trying to do conversation style videos, whether that's live or pre-recorded, with interesting characters, be that people I agree with or disagree with. I put out a little invite to theists specifically a while ago, because
I saw that.
That's an ongoing thing that I like to talk about. Is I like to try to understand why people believe the things they do, and sometimes those conversations can get very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So I put out a call. I haven't had very many takers, although I did have a trainee druid come on. That was a very interesting chat, and I'm hoping there's a lady on the Twitters who's Wiccan, who I'm hoping will come on for a chat.
Ooh,
and there's
fun.
There's the classic Christians and all that business who I'm hoping to have a chat with as well.
Yay.
I'm also doing a few pre-prepared videos, although I've got 2 in the works at the moment. One will be another collaboration with Not Your Witness.
Ooh, fun!
That'll be more related to his specific field, which is the old witnesses. And another one that I have planned. In fact, I may have another one in the works, but one of them would be talking about the different versions of the 10 Commandments, because that came up in a chat recently.
Oh, yes.
And another one would be about the subject of free speech and free expression, which is an important topic to me particularly.
Yes, I have noticed that it is, and that's one of the things that got me wondering about the libertarianism that my fault I didn't pick up on and keep going with. Maybe in the after show we can.
Oh yeah, we can come back to that.
It's.
I'm not fully on board with the whole libertarian thing, because there's bits I agree with and disagree with in any political sort of way of looking at things. I agree with some things, I disagree with other things. I try to pick the things that I think are beneficial and avoid the things that I think are not.
A good way to do things, I think. Yes, a very, very good way to do things. And
Oh,
everybody have
there was one other thing I was going to say, which was if there is anyone theist or atheist or anti-theist for that side of the debate, or any other topic that people agree with me or disagree with me on that they want to come on and have a chat with me about, I can be contacted on Twitter at badtemperbadger, or you can email me, and I'm sure you'll enjoy my email address for this, which is badger@cock.li.
Okay. You want to throw that into the side chat?
Yeah, I'll put that in there. If you want to come on for a chat, email badger@cock.li. Ping.
There it goes. I got the mute off. That is absolutely perfect. I love that. Okay, so let me grab the other the after show here and make sure I have that copied, and then I'm going to drop it in the side chat again, and
All right.
we're going to kind of move over there.
I'll just mute myself briefly while I go put the kettle on there.
Look in the description of this program for Badger's channel, and be sure to like and subscribe and support and all those wonderful things that all us wonderful people love to wonderfully do. And we're going to kind of move over to the after show here, I think, and
Right.
be talking to you guys in a couple of minutes. I want to thank everybody for coming here. I want to thank you, Badger, for being on this show and on the next one. And
Thanks very much for having me.
as far as that one goes, then I want to say thanks a lot, folks. See you on the other side.